Marshals. Step right up and see the elephant. Yeah, come on. Hey guys, hey, what's happening? Les Paul Jr. Today, I was going to have the prototype today. We got a little bit delayed. Nothing big, nothing wrong. Just life, you know. So I've got my Junior 58 Junior custom shop thing that I've hopped up a little bit. And today, instead of a 65, I got my little Marshall SV20, which is a tiny baby plexi. And it's cathode biased. Unlike a full-size plexi, which is grid biased, right? So that means I can swap power tubes without having to bias it. Sorry, doing a little fine-tuning here. So I thought it'd be fun. Right now, there's Mullard XF2s in there. I have two Mullard preamp tubes and a Telefunken. Long smooth plate thing from the 60s. All the preamp tubes are from the 60s. It's a very bright circuit. With the tubes that came from the factory, it was even brighter than this. And I have like the trebles on like 3, and the presence is at noon, and I'm running mostly on the bass channel. I have it jumped, if you know how these 4-input Marshalls work. Hey, you made it. All right, Phil, finally. All right, very cool. So what I thought I'd do is play it for a little bit. I have the JJ EL34s that came with it, which actually sound pretty good. At this low of voltage, they work great. I also have a pair of KT77s I'd like to try on there. So I thought maybe we'd do that together. These 60s tubes sound pretty rowdy. It's got a little bit of that honk, 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 honk thing that a real plexi has. I think this amp sounds really good. Does it sound as good as my plexis? No. But for 20 watts, signal path, it's killing. I'm going through my pedal board right now, Phil. Only thing that's on is the Orion tape echo, the UA thing, and then I have the custom audio electronics buffer at the end of my board. Kind of adds a little brightness and clarity to things. And a good old P90 with the Music City bridge on it, and one of Michael DeTemple's sorry, I'm losing my headphones. One of Michael DeTemple's Mastodon nuts, right? And I'm going through the aux. There's no speaker hooked up to this right now, just the aux. And I'm using their Marshall 412 IR. Anyway, I just miss having a plexi so much. that I could play. I own 2 Plexies. They're not here. I have no use for them in my house. I don't have a shop right now, which that's going to change soon. But this sounds like a good old raunchy Marshall. It's not tidy. It's not, you know, we're kind of used to a more modern sound, especially with my amps, you know, with 65s. They're a little more composed, a little less odd order distortion. So Phil, here's without the echo. I can put a little 1176 on it. Make it kind of fat. Here's the Barber Direct Drive. Very good 70s sound Marshall. This is the Source Audio Clean Booster. That is not a 65, Oswald. We're going to veer off the path a little bit today. I was hoping to play you the prototype today. I'm going to wait. We've got a good crowd showing up here. I'm going to just goof off here for another 5 minutes or so, and then I'll start playing with tubes. This is my little Marshall SV20. It's a little tiny, tiny Plexi. It runs on EL34s, but it's only 20 watts, and you can kick it down to 5 watts. Like if I do that, that's 5 watts. Still sounds great. So it's kind of a Plexi you can play. For guys like me, I put groceries on the table with a Plexi for about 10 years. That's home base for me. Sometimes I just really miss it. I mean, I love my amps. I love 65s and everything, but there's room in your brain for more than one thing, right? So I have my little cars I put on here. There's a little Shelby Cobra. And, oh, it's trying to escape. All right. Those cars are fast. Where'd it go? Anyway, you get the idea. So sometimes I just want to hear that sound. But I can't play, you know, I have 50 and 100 watt Plexi, and I can't even turn them on in my house. So this is pretty close. And I've got, for those of you just tuning in, I got good tubes in here. The power tubes are Mullard XF2s from the mid-60s. The double O-getters, you know, like nice EL34s. The preamp tubes are 2 Mullard 12x7 long plates and 1 Telefunken smooth plate, all from the 60s. I think one of the Mullards might be early 70s. But anyway. But it's a very distinct sound. You know, it's what we all... about where do 100 watt Plexis break up on the volume dial with Buckers? Well, there's a few variables there. It's a very clean amp, like usually about 7. So 7 on a Plexi is about 120 decibels, 117 decibels, something like that. It's really loud. You can affect that, you know, there's different versions of Plexis, you know, like the first 100 watt Plexi, I think, was 1968, and it had a lower B+, so it breaks up a little bit earlier. Hoss Thompson, did somebody call the cavalry? Because here's a Hoss. Oh, yeah. Little Marshall for you, Hossy. So also like the speakers you're playing, like the, you know, the 60s ones, they often were sold with 20 watt cabinets. Not 20 watt cabinets, but cabinets that had 20 watt speakers in them. Those break up. I actually have a vintage M I'm going to put in one of my little 65 112s here just for fun to go with this amp. So I can have the rig of my youth. So yeah, 100 watt Plexi, if it's a non-master, which I personally think those are the only ones worth having. They're loud. They're really loud. To give you an example, I had my 50, you guys have seen the pictures of the amps at my shop when I had them there. I'll repost the picture of my 2 Plexis together, but the 100 watt, I ended up buying a wireless so I could play it. couldn't play it. Hey, Ray Colby, what are your EQ settings? Man, this amp is voiced so bright. I want to go in there and mess with it. But like the treble's on 3. I got the mid-range on like 4. Bass is on 7. Presence is on 5. Somewhere right in there. I mean, you can get a lot of different good sounds out of this. And I have the channels jumpered, so the bass channel is up on 8. And the treble channel is on 6. So if I push the treble channel, oops, let's do it this way. Let me pull the bass channel back. More the AC/DC thing. If I push the bass channel, you get a little more of the... But I like to mix them pretty well, you know, get a good balance. I can get it dirtier, you know, if I just crank them both up more. Yeah, it's coming across really bright in my headphones, but let me get a little more mid-range there, a little less bass. So that's the great thing about Plexis. They record nice. They record better than they sound. In person, they're kind of ratty and kind of up your nose. I was going to say another part of your body, but that wouldn't be appropriate on the show. But they're kind of up your business. But man, you put them in front of a microphone and a nice preamp, they record really, really well. Yeah, this is the Studio Vintage 20, which is the Plexi circuit, Oswald. So a lot of people are making money right now selling amps that sound like a recording of an amp. It is very percussive. Well, I got good tubes in here. That makes a big difference. So here in a minute, I'll put the JJs back in that came with it. They sound really good. I mean, you know, when you're running tubes at low voltage, they're pretty compliant, you know. They do what you ask. I had to take the preamp tubes out because it was so freaking bright. You couldn't play it. This is a Junior. It's kind of bright. Forget a Strat. I mean, it was so stinking bright. So I was just thinking, since the prototype isn't ready, and I've been playing a whiskey a lot lately, let's just do something different today. And let me turn this off. You guys got a good sampling of this. Let me turn this off. I'll let it cool down for a second. They're not very hot, running at lower voltage, but they're hot enough that I don't want to burn myself. But I got the back off of it. It has brand new pin holders, tube holders, so it's really sticky getting the tubes out. But I'll do it on camera here, and you can laugh at me, my clumsiness and everything. You can get an idea of what it sounds like. And then I'm really curious to try these KT77s. I meant to get a pair of KT66s from Marty over at ARS today, but I just didn't have the time. Maybe we'll do that in the future. He told me the new KT66s sound great. Now, they're Shiguangs, like Chinese ones, right? But he said they're really good. Apparently Shiguang is doing a much better job. Let me put this over here real quick. Hopefully it doesn't fall. Speaking of which, here is my vintage Celestion M. It's a black back. Just some of the peanuts are sticking to the cone. Hope that doesn't fuck it all up. But check it out. I'm going to put this in one of my, this is from the 70s, in one of my 112 cabinets. And to go with this head. So, you know, I used to play, mostly I had a 50 watt Plexi that I spent years messing with. And I put groceries on the table with that amp for a long time, like almost a decade. Let's flip this around. Look back here and see what's up. There's not much to it, as you can tell. So I just kind of want to have that sound in my youth, but it's something I can play. So when you knock this down to 5 watts, it's still loud. Like, it's not quiet. Scotty Bratcher, hey. Scotty Bratcher says, is that the same Chinese company that was making ECC 83s for Marshalls? Probably. Shiguang is the biggest Chinese manufacturer, and in all fairness, they've really improved. When our business was in full swing, I would never use those tubes. But then I started seeing some like General Electric, like on the Producer 6L, we use a GE reissue that I think was made at Shiguang. It was really good. Like, really nice tube. Like, I don't really care where they're made. I'm not like, oh, Chinese stuff. I don't think like that. I prefer to buy American stuff, but there's no American tubes. So I don't know what you're supposed to do there. But anyway, Shiguang has improved a lot. Let's see how these look fine. They're really hard to get out with these new. It's got the it's got the tube, the pins, but they're so stiff because it's brand new. Let's see. Ooh, that's hot. Let's get out of there, you booger. There we go. So this is a Mullard. It's actually branded General Electric, but you can see made in Great Britain, which is always a good thing. Get out of there, little stinker. New ones are so stiff. There we go. And this one is labeled Dumont, but they're a matched pair. They're a very tightly matched pair of XF2 Mullards. So let's do the JJs first, just so you can get an idea. These are, it says Marshall on them, but they're JJs. You know what I got to do to see these tube socks? I got to put my glasses on, so bear with me for a second. We'll put the JJs in and then fire it back up. So once again, this amp is cathode biased. You couldn't do this with a normal plexi. Man, get in there, you little stinker. These holders are so tight. Isn't this funny? Tube amp guy, right? I'll be dang. All right, so there's the pen. These things are so freaking stiff because it's brand new. There we go. Yeah, these are JJs. And they're just regular EL34s. It sounded really good out of the box. I just had some Mullards laying around in my desk. So I thought, let's do that. And it does sound, it sounds better with the Mullards. I don't know if it's incredibly different, to be honest. But there's some psychosomatic. Oswald Bates says, I'm addicted to KT66s. Yeah, the new ones are supposed to be really good. So I'm going to go get a pair from Marty over at ARS, and we'll see how it does. So let's warm these up for a second, and then we'll put the rig back together, and then we'll play these for a few minutes, and we'll try some KT77s. And there's a reason I'm doing this, because I'm kind of auditioning tubes for what we're making. This is a good way to do it in a circuit that we all know. Anyway, so what's going on with the prototype is probably your next question. It's going. I just, Mike moved his shop, so things got a little crazy. Okay, JJ EL34s now. So you can tell it's a little higher. It's brighter. The distortion is a little raunchier, a little nastier. Still sounds great. In my headphones, I'm hearing a lot more odd order distortion, odd order harmonics. Not necessarily a bad thing. Charles Freeborn says, any progress on the practice? Yes, actually, I took some tubes over to David Royer yesterday, and we're going to have something pass and signal, I hope, by next week. So you can tell the JJ sound really good. It's more of a modern sound, more of a metal sound, you know. Whereas the Mullards are definitely warmer and smoother. The distortion's a little more tidy. I don't mind this at all, though. You hear a little less body, a little less. Hosh, you were talking about percussion earlier. A little less percussion with the JJs. I don't mind it. It doesn't offend me in the slightest. They're just, I don't know if it's coming through, but in my headphones, I hear just a little bit of a mess on top. Maybe it's not a bad thing. It might just be an old guy going, get off my lawn, kids. You may like this better. That's totally cool. That's got, if I tone this down a little bit, let's see. Very clicky. What do you guys think of these? I like them both. If you made me choose, I would go with the Mullards. Maybe that's psychosomatic. I don't know. They just sound a little warmer and smoother to me. But it's a cool little amp. Let's drop it down to 5 watts and see what it does. If it sounds any different. Yeah, let's give it a little more hell here. Scotty Bratcher, I agree with you. These sound more like a Mark II Plexi to me than the Mullards did. Yeah, oh, we got dog action here. Yeah, you're right. Ray Colby says, I used to put Mullards in my Boogie Mark IIIs. Yeah, that's the only tubes that tame that Boogie brightness. Yeah, Mullards are very warm. The top end is there. It's just kind of in a little lower frequency, which I personally prefer, but I think that might be just because I grew up with that. You know, I always recognize my possible bias. Like if Jimi Hendrix would have been playing, you know, Silvertone amps from Sears, we'd all be chasing that, you know. But when I was a kid, if you bought a Marshall, it had Mullards in it. You know, first Marshall I bought, it was a Mark II Master Volume 50-watt combo. I think it was made around 75 or something like that, 76. I bought it in 78 used, and it had Mullards in it. And after that, I bought a 1970 50-watt. I had the original tubes. They were all Mullards. They sounded great. They were fine. They didn't wear out. Mullards don't wear out. The 100-watt that I have, I put Mullards in it. These are kind of like pubes and beard hairs compared to the lustrous Pantene head hair of Mullards. Yeah, there's a little bit of that going on. So let's try the 77s. Yeah, you want to do that? Let's let these cool off for a minute. And we'll try the 77s. I mean, it's no surprise. I think we're going to end up liking Mullards, but I just thought you guys would get a kick out of, you know, checking it out. The JJs, I think, are actually very satisfactory. But you're getting a good example of the real difference, you know, side by side. I wish I could swap them out faster. You know, auditory memory supposedly is only like 5 minutes or something. But anyway, you get the idea. And, you know, we're auditioning tubes for... So the prototype amp that I'm working on right now, it has KT88s in it. because that's the hardest one to drop down the voltage. You know, I figure if we can make it work with 88s, it's going to work with anything, right? So let's see if I can just get this out of here. Come on, you little booger. Ooh, it's pretty hot. Yeah. JJ's going back in the box. Just keep them for spares. They're good tubes. I don't mind them. That's what most of the EL34 guys are using these days anyway. Like Bogner and people like that. They work. They're good tubes. I think they're pretty reliable as far as EL34s go. My humble opinion, take it with a grain of salt, it's worth it to spend the money on vintage tubes. You know, a pair of Mullards are going to cost you $250. What's the argument for the E34L versus the EL34? You know, I used to know what the big deal was with those, but I don't now. I'd have to look it up. I think the E34L takes more voltage. It's a little bit more rugged tube. Here's JJ KT77s. Yeah, I got these from Ruby Tubes, I think. Yeah, Ruby. And we used to make this amp called the Royal Albert that had KT77s in it. And I want to bring that amp back. Matter of fact, come on, there we go. Keith Urban is sending me a couple of them back. That's what he used to play. Only problem was the JJ KT77s that we used started going bad. I mean, like really bad. Like, screw me, this is embarrassing bad. And so he quit playing the amp. And I don't blame him. And I was embarrassed and pissed, to be honest. So, all right, let's turn this on now, let it warm up. So, yeah, the JJ tubes are usually a little more rugged than normal. Like, that's why I only use JJ EL34s and 6v6s, because they can take voltage. No one else can. You know, like, for example, a Blackface Deluxe, when it was new, had a B plus of about 415, something like that. But that's when we were all getting 115 out of the wall, 117. Now, here in LA, we get 123, 124. So every voltage of input, after it get rectified, goes up about 4 volts. So 7 times 4, you're getting, 28 more volts. And modern tubes take less voltage than old tubes. So it's a two-shot swing, right? Like, they're getting way more voltage, and the tubes can't take voltage. So, like, if you have an old Fender, like a Blackface especially, because those are pretty high voltage, JJ is the only tube I know that can withstand that. So we'll just have to see. All right, let's fire up some KT77s and see what it do. Ooh, that's pretty good, isn't it? Ooh, the top end is so much better. Let's dial a little bit more back in. Oh, yeah. Pretty dirty, too. Let's cool it off just a hair. Hoss, you're funny, man. I'm going to send you a little Venmo money after we're done. No, Raymond, it wasn't his tech's fault. The touring guys refresh their tubes a lot. And so when we gave them new tubes, they didn't last. It wasn't the tech's fault, wasn't Keith's fault, anything. It wasn't the amp's fault. That amp's not particularly high voltage. I think it's, you know, KT77s are supposed to take 600 volts. And I think they don't, of course. That's the old spec. But I like these. I like these a lot. But we were blowing them up at 420. 420, 430. They weren't lasting. And then so we switched them over to EL34s, which didn't sound as good in that circuit. I'm digging this sound, though. Yeah, I think you're right, Oswald. The top end's a little rattier. A little Alan Rickman nasal quality, nice. Yeah, so that was my impression of it back then. To me, these KT77s sounded like 60s EL34s. So do you know what KT stands for? It means kinkless tetrode. So these are not pentodes. So it's the same tube as a pentode, except for it does not have a suppressor grid. And a suppressor grid cleans up the electrons that are bouncing off the plate and hitting the control grids again, and the screen grid. And so that creates a little bit of nastiness, you know, when you get that blowback like that. So the suppressor grid would suppress the blowback. But without it, you get a little bit of raunchiness that's kind of nice. Let's see if I can dial a little more fatness in here. I don't mind that. I'm trying to crank the mids up. Now let's turn the mids down and treble back up. Yeah, that's getting pretty good. Oh, Oswald, they will not take 500 volts. I've talked to these guys, the tube manufacturers. They just use the spec sheet from the 60s. They don't want to. Then if something goes wrong, they just say, well, it's your amp. I think if they were to put out the real specs on these tubes, they couldn't sell them because they wouldn't work in old amps, right? So let's see here. Yeah, I'm digging these a lot. I like the Mullards the best, I think, but these are a very close second. A little echo. Yeah, a little fuzzier on top, but it's a smooth fuzz. You know, it's not kind of a jagged, ratty sort of thing. What do you guys think? I just got the junior back down to about 6. Still, it's a bright little amp, you know. Like I'm going to get in here and swap some caps out and warm this thing up, but that's a pretty good Marshall rhythm sound there, though. I mean, that's pretty much, you know. Let's roll it up. All right, let's go back to the Mullards. Let this thing cool off for a few minutes. And what do you guys think? Tell me your opinion. I'm very curious because I want to try that KT77 in the prototype. We're going to make a few amps. One of the ones I want to bring back, they're definitely better than the JJs to me. William Colby says, I like them, got some twang for the cleaner tones. Yeah, it was good, wasn't it? Haas Thompson says, they're definitely better than the JJs to me. Not sure they're better than the Mullards, but hey, if they're cheap, they're a lot cheaper. And easier to get. Yeah, these are current production tubes. So There's no issue getting a hold of these at all. JJ's making them. So I deal here in Los Angeles. If you guys know ARS Electronics, guy named Marty there who's really good. On the West Coast, he's the guy. There's a couple guys on the East Coast if you guys want tube recommendations. But Marty has this amazing testing machine that looks like you're on a spaceship. It's huge, big round desk with knobs and dials, and you can go to him and test tubes at a prescribed voltage. So I used to go to him and say, hey, we're making this amp. It's got EL34s. I like to run it at 340 volts. Says most people when they test at 225, which is not realistic. I could go to him and say I want to test at these voltages, and he would make me match pairs and quads that would take the voltage. But anyway, so I was talking to him about this, and he didn't have any 77s in stock, but he said the new 77s are really good. Hey, Phil, he says, all I know is that Junior is killing. It's hard to beat a Junior, man. A lot of people don't understand that. But anyway, and I was talking to Marty, and he goes, the KT66s that are out now are great. You might want to try them. So I'm gonna get a pair of those and put them in here too. All right, let's get these boogers out. These are the KT77. We'll put the Mullards back in. Come on. Cooperate with Daddy. And I like these. I like these a lot. For modern production tubes, it's really not fair to compare modern production tubes to old tubes, but you need to just for a point of reference. If you guys want me to make you amps with old tubes in them, I can do it. It's a serious upcharge because I have to buy the tubes and test them and make sure they're okay. And then I got to pay the bills on top of that. So might not be, if I can buy them for $250, I got to charge you $500. Otherwise, it's just not worth doing. All right, where did my glasses go? Oh no, did I lose my glasses? Oh, there they are. I can't see super close really well, so. I'm old after all those eye surgeries I had last year. I got new lenses, and I can only, everything within about 2 feet is kind of weird. All right, Mullards back in. All right. Yay, Mullards. Danny like Mullards. All right. So, best I can tell from the date codes on these tubes, they're from 1965 or 64, somewhere around there. Maybe 66, but I think it's just dead square in the middle of the decade. So am I, as a matter of fact. I was made dead square in the middle of that decade. Maybe that's why I like them. I do not know. So anyway, we'll let this warm up for a second. We'll go back to the Mullards. And we'll see what you guys think, man. Brian Mendes, I'm so glad you're here. Guitar rings, doesn't it? Okay, let's see what she do. More output too, right? Yeah, it's not a gigantic difference. This amp is cathode bias. That's right, Oswald. There's a little upper mid-range content to Mullards that kind of right around that frequency that to me that Scotty Bratcher says, yep, winner. Well, we kind of knew that was going to happen, but it was neat to illustrate. Huge difference with the Mullards, Brian says. Yeah. Yeah, they're great tubes. They have the sound. The 77 sound a bit more modern, whatever that means. Yeah, it's true. I think you know, in all fairness, the tubes break in and sound a little warmer. So, like, if I played those 77s for about 20 hours or something, they might kind of soften up a little bit. But listen to the clean sound when I roll my guitar back. It's the guitar on 4. The full Rickman, Mr. Takagi. Scotty Bratcher says, I'm a tube screamer guy. That honk you're talking about is my jam. Yeah, there's no adjective for it, but all Marshall guys recognize it. And we look at each other and go, there's just a certain thing the old Marshalls had. That's what I want to get out of that old Celestion speaker that I bought. I bought it off of Reverb. Got a good deal on it. So, you know, our brother and friend, Peter Stroud, is a huge Celestion aficionado. He's got dozens. He knows every cone code, you name it. Hey, I'm looking. Oh, you want this binky one? And I'll find you 6 of them on the internet. So I told him I bought this because this is the amp he plays on the road with Cheryl, and I really like it. Like I played his and thought, hey, that's a fun little amp. But so he knows exactly. Let me get this thing tuned right. It doesn't work on headphones for some reason. So I called him and said, hey man, I'm getting one of the SV20s. I bought it used, but it's practically new. And I'm going to put it in one of our 65 112s, you know, which is pretty deep sounding. And he started sending me links right away. Here's what you need. So I defer to Peter when it comes to Celestion. So I bought the one he told me to buy. A little too dirty, isn't it? Let's pull some treble back. It's pretty good, man. It's hard to beat the Mullies. There we go. Hey, Mark. No, that's a great question. I want to put that up on the screen, actually, because you're on YouTube and all the Facebook guys won't see it. Have tubes gotten better or some gotten worse? Yeah, yes. Shiguang in China is doing a lot better making tubes now. A lot of guys I know really rely on them. I don't know of any amazing preamp tube action happening. Hoss Thompson says, the sound of panties dropping. Yeah, it's pretty good sound. And I think I've witnessed that phenomena when I was playing for a living quite a bit. But yeah, Mark, so you missed earlier, I popped in some KT77s, some JJ KT77s. Yeah, Michael Munz, that sound makes me want to play a Thin Lizzy song, right? Is that right? And before that, I played the JJs that were stock with this amp. They came with this amp. They're pretty good. They're more modern sounding, a little more abrasive, you know, like kind of metal-y sounding, which I think for a lot of people is probably attractive. Not for me. I don't hate them. I'm not offended by them. It just wasn't my thing. For production tubes, I think these 77s sound really good. I want to get some 66s. I might just run over to ARS today after we're done here. He's just over in Van Nuys. It's like 15 minutes from here. So, for the most part, tubes have not improved. Um, as far as modern production goes, I'm not really that hip. I rely on experts now because, I haven't been running a factory for a while, and tubes are pretty dynamic. Just in the time that we had our thing, we used to keep a spreadsheet, and Miles Rose would keep everything for us. And we saw a decline in everything, over the course of years. But so, it's it's a moving target. But some people have stepped up. Some tubes, as far as like power tubes go, I still really like JJ's. I think the Electro-Harmonic 6v6s sound really good, but they're just not super rugged. They sound great, though. They probably sound more like a vintage 6v6 than the JJ does. The JJ sounds a little bit like a 6L6. But now apparently Shiguang is doing really good things with power tubes. So... guitar's on 8. It's a good Marshall sound, man. But if you were to get the tubes that I have in here right now, it's about a $500 thing to get decent ones. Pair of EL34s and some good 12AX7s. You can find good ones, for 50, 60 bucks sometimes that are down a little bit. They still sound great. These are all pretty strong tubes that I have. You could tell when I put the Mullards back in, the output of the amp went up, right? Brand new pair of JJ's, fresh out of the box and measured to be strong. I put a 60-year-old pair of Mullards in here and it jumps, right? So that's kind of a good real world example for you. And they're dynamic. I went to do good question, Haas. Tariffs. The only words I can think of to discuss that start with F. I don't know. There's a lot of stock in the country already. There's warehouses here. That probably would only last for about 3 to 6 months because everybody's going to hoard tubes now. All the people that need lots of tubes, I don't need lots of tubes, so I think I'll be fine. Even if they do go up some, it's cost of doing business, right? And that just means, the governments don't pay tariffs. You pay tariffs. I pay tariffs. So unfortunately, I don't have any choice, right? Not running a charity. So have to make money, got to pay the bills. Holy shit, Mark. You just paid $300 import taxes on a used 65-212? Is that new? Is that this new tariff situation? Even for a used piece? Oh boy. I know you're in Canada, right? Mark, are you in Toronto or where are you? Canada retaliation. Shit, I'm sorry. I hate that. I don't know why we would ever have a fight with Canada. This whole thing makes me so sad. No country's ever had a better neighbor than we've had with Canada. No country has ever had a better friend than we have with Canada. I'm just speechless, man. I'm really sorry. Yeah, it'd probably be a good idea to pick up some extra power tubes. I mean, our initial production of amps isn't going to be that high. So, we're talking about making 10 a month or something. Yeah, shit, 25% tariff and 5% tax. Son of a gun. I'm sorry, Mark. on behalf of all potty trained Americans, we don't know what's going on either. Oswald, you're correct. Oswald says a lot of places are going to go under because of all this nonsense. You're right. Man, if I could affect a change, I certainly would. I don't see any value in this business-wise at all. Luckily, the cab sounds amazing good. I'm glad you're happy. 300 extra bucks, though. Holy cow. The tariffs were pulled back yesterday for 90 days. If history is any sort of indicator, it might just get forgotten about. And I hope that's the case, because none of this makes any sense, especially the Canadian ones. He did I sell into countries that tariff stuff, namely Japan and Australia. I don't pay those tariffs. The dealer there pays them and passes them on to their customers. So it's the normal humans that are paying the tariffs and the extra prices, not the governments. And it's just an extortion racket. I don't know why they're in Japan or Australia, because it's not like there's some Australian ant makers that they're trying to protect. I think it's just general screw the USA, which, you know what, having lived outside this country for a few years, I'm hip. There's a lot of reasons to have a problem with the U.S. I love my country, but I love it like an adult. I know it has a lot of faults. I don't love it like an 8-year-old loves its mommy. Don't you talk bad about my mommy or I'm going to sock you in the nose. I love the country like two adults love each other. Like, hey, honey, we need to talk. There's a problem, right? So most of the people here are so great, and our government is not. No matter who's in charge, Democrat or Republican, they all turn out to be, I don't know how to say it in English. There's a phrase in Latin. How does it go? Shitheads. I don't know how to say that in English, but they always turn out to be shitheads. I'm sorry. Anyway, we're going to have fun. We're going to play guitar, and we're going to play with more tubes. I hope you guys like this. I think for some of you, it might have been maybe first time doing a comparison like this. Yeah. Yeah. 154% tariffs. Yeah, it's not good. I studied economics in college, and trade wars are wars of attrition. That just means last man standing wins. You could kill your entire army on both sides except for one guy, and that's the side that wins. Hi, Randy Krathis here. Hey, buddy. Sounds like you're getting ready for fun. Yeah, we were just playing with tubes. I'm sorry, I got to sign off here in a few minutes, but so I started. This is a Marshall Studio Vintage 20, a little bitty plexi. It actually works pretty good. I would revoice it. There's some caps. It's just too bright. But I know how to use a soldering iron. So I'm going to go in there and mess with it. I just got it a couple weeks ago. So what we did was I put some Mullard XF2s in there that I have here tucked away in my desk for an emergency. Some 60s Mullards. And 2 Mullard 12AX7s from the 60s, Blackburn Mullards. And then 1 Telefunken smooth plate from the 60s. Also, I put that in the phase inverter position. No, I changed it around. I ended up putting the Telefunken in V2 on the treble channel. I think I need to put it in V1. Hey, I'm going to mess around with it and see. The amp's just so bright. And it really warmed it up. And then I put the JJs that came with it. We played those. And then I played a pair of JJ KT77s. So if you want to look at the replay, Facio quod volo. Yeah, I went to Catholic school, man, when I was a kid, for a minute. Then I got in trouble. But, yeah, Mark says, I work in the U.S. and live in Canada. I don't have the luxury of getting nationalistic. Nationalism is a joke. It's, especially between our two countries. Like, we're just siblings. We're brothers, Haas Thompson, neoliberal economics, man, when the majority of the world realize it, really doesn't work for them, regardless of country. Yeah. There's a lot. I hesitate to get into politics because It's so ugly right now. And, I studied economics, but my degree is in political science. I had enough credits to get either degree, but I chose the political science because I wanted to go to law school. Um, but when you study political science, it's like going to filmmaking school, and when you watch a film now, you realize how much of it is fake, how much of it is staged, how much of it is just performative acting, that it's not real. That's kind of the way I look at politics. Unfortunately, I'm beyond jaded. Everybody is money hungry, power hungry, egomaniacs. And I don't know how many of these people actually have convictions. They just go where the money is. So if I say this, and there's some guys in politics, you see, they change parties. I'm not going to say names because you know who they are, but they change parties just to get elected. Because if they say the right thing, people respond to it. If they can trigger your fears, they can get a lot of following out of you, which I think is base level, low way of doing things. But so as a political science guy, I don't really want to go into politics because I think it's a joke to argue the veracity and validity of things when I know that none of their motivations are very good. There's people that I agree with more than others, but I don't know that anybody here has perfect good intentions or clean hands. So it's hard to advocate hard for somebody. Yeah. Anyway, enough of that shit. Nobody wants to hear that. So anyway, I got about 4 minutes. So you guys are all unanimously in favor of the Mullards, right? Is that the deal? I am. But I actually, larger concepts are the bane of the ignorant. Yeah, too many people focus on eggs and yeah, I know. It's, the government is big and complex, and politics are not simple. And when people distill it down into you're either with us or against us, they're being intellectually dishonest. How about that rock and roll music? I gotta tell you, Haas, I don't care to listen to modern jazz. I'm going to start quoting Chuck Berry now. Just let me hear some of that rock and roll music. It's got a backbeat. You can't lose it. So, yeah, I'm with you on the rock and roll. Yeah, politics is stupid, and boy, are we in a weird place right now. And I'm sure all of you people outside the United States are going, what is going on there? Oswald Bates, I agree with you. Yes, on the Mullards, but those KT77s were unbeatable for the money. Yeah, they're not expensive tubes. I think this pair was $35 or something like that, $40. Randy Kress says, I kind of prefer good tubes over economics and politics. Yeah, me too. That was a long-winded way of saying this stuff is gross. But, yeah, so these are Ruby tubes, but they're JJ's. I just bought them from Ruby. Ruby matched them for me. I think I just bought them off their website. And then I'm going to go get some KT66s. Maybe we can do this again, and I'll throw in the 66s too and see what you think. That sound good? You guys want to try that next week? Oh, Rob Taylor, he finally made it. I'm signing off literally in 2 minutes. Have I heard of the band Feel? No, I haven't. Pretty good singer. Lovely mojo. Gear and music podcasts have never been more important to unplug from the world. Yeah, that's right, Mark. We can all kind of go to a safe place. Yeah, Phil says, speaking of money, got to finish some tax stuff. Sounded great. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I got to finish my taxes too. I've been procrastinating this year. And it's Masters Week right now. And as you guys know, I have a golf problem. I don't really like golf culture so much, but I love the game. That whole cocktails, mulligans. You hear the one about the Catholic? I hate that. But I do love the game. I love the physics of hitting a ball and all the precision it takes and the ballistics involved with the wind and the temperature and the spin on the ball and the slope of the hill. And I love all that stuff. My engineer brain goes crazy. Yeah, take the wife to the hospital. I hope everything's okay, Rob. You can watch the replay. Doing taxes this weekend. Yeah, me too. I'm going to be sitting watching the Masters with my laptop out. Thanks for adding the kinkless tetrode. Yeah, there's kinky tetrodes and then kinkless tetrodes. Look up the difference between a tetrode and a pentode, and it's the suppressor grid is the deal. When you understand what a suppressor grid does, a tetrode does not have. So a KT66, a KT77, KT88, there is no suppressor grid. She starts chemo today. Well, all the best, man. I hope it goes perfectly. We went through that here in our house too, so sending all my best healing energy, man. I hate that. You really don't want the kids in your tetrodes. Just painful. Well, thank you guys for showing. I got to run. But I do love you guys, and I appreciate you wasting time. I hope we had a little tube fun today, and maybe we'll try some more. I should definitely have the prototype next week, so if the prototype is not ready, we'll definitely do some more tubes. But this was fun. We can do it again anyway. Neat. I should swap out preamp tubes, but you're not going to beat the tubes I have in there. It's just kind of a waste of time. I don't mean that in an arrogant way. You can buy them. You too, Randy. Love you, buddy. You can buy these tubes. They're on eBay. I mean, there's so many tubes out there. Surprisingly, eBay is a really good source. You too, buddy. Haas, have a splendid day and a lovely week, sir. You too. I wish I was in England now instead of here, but yes, I got to go. Anyway, I love you, fellas. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And I hope you learned a little bit about tubes today. And we'll talk next week, and hopefully with a prototype amp in tow. Okay? Cheers, fellas. Take care. Bye-bye.